Hi, I'm Lisa Jones, and you're listening to The Secrets of Stargate, where we talk about the hidden meanings and deeper layers found in the Stargate movies, TV series, and more. Joining me today are Jeff Hacker. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Lisa.
And Victor Lambs. Hey, Victor.
Hi, Lisa.
Today, we are discussing the second episode of Season 3 of Stargate Atlantis called Misbegotten. Misbegotten picks up immediately after the fight with the Wraith hive ships in deep space. With the immediate threat to Earth averted, Atlantis is left with an unusual dilemma. Hundreds of Wraith have been transformed into humans by Dr. Beckett's Retrovirus. These individuals are now stripped of their memories, are brought to a remote planet under the supervision of the Atlantis team, after lots of hand-wringing. Among them is Michael, the Wraith, who was first experimented on in Season 2. Suspicious of Atlantis' motives, he becomes a central figure in testing whether these transformed Wraith can truly adapt to human lives. Tensions rise as Dr. Weir and the team debate the ethics of the retrovirus. Again, is it a cure, a weapon, or a violation of their identity? The IOA sends Richard Woolsey to Atlantis to observe and make decisions on whether Weir should continue leading the mission. And that further complicates what's going on in Atlantis with all of the political pressure. Ultimately, the experiment fails, and the Wraith begin to regain their memories and revert to their true nature. And they manage to call a hive ship for a pickup, forcing the Atlantis team to rush back to the planet and rescue Beckett and attempt to contain the damage. They arrive in the damaged hive ship, and after getting Beckett on board, decide to fire on the camp to leave no survivors. A new hive ship arrives and destroys the old hive ship, with the team escaping in a puddle jumper for Daedalus to pick up. The episode closes with Atlantis facing the consequences of trying to reshape their enemy and the troubling realization that Michael might remain a dangerous and predictable figure if he survived. What do you think about this episode, Jeff?
Yeah, I like this one. Like you said, it's the continuation of the last one, so it's part 3 of 3 basically, and I think it's a good resolution because we had the big shoot 'em ups and fights and stuff, and so this was kind of the aftermath of all of that, which was nice. And yeah, I mean, it's always interesting when you bring in those moral questions, and yeah, as we've kind of litigated already, there, is the Atlantis team in the right on the whole retrovirus thing, and then now they're facing, there is a consequence here, which we haven't seen a lot of in Stargate, as we've I think discussed before, that often it's like they fix the problem or they cause a problem and then there's never any repercussions, but there definitely will be with this. So that was interesting. And I like that how they kind of slow played the Wraith. They were started questioning things, and then some of them stopped taking their treatment or ran out in the woods so that they wouldn't have to take it, and they realized that they're becoming a Wraith again. So I like kind of the slow reveal and remembrance of that. And I just thought it was funny that as soon as they get a new ship again, they lose it because they lost they lost the Orion last week, and then this week they lose the Wraith Hive ship, so they just can't ever get in a nice alien ship to call their own. So, but yeah, no, overall it was a good one.
And what do you think, Victor?
Yeah, I like it too. It's definitely one that I remember just because it's kind of icky, the team of Marines gets killed by the Wraith, and then the future of the regressing retrovirus Wraith is uncertain and stuff. But the Atlantis team again didn't really do the smart thing in this episode, which is either trust Michael, let him go, or just put all the retrovirus Wraith on the hive ship, wait for them to turn back and blow up the hive ship, which is probably what would have saved them a lot of headaches later on. We do get the return of a very nice wig in this episode. Weir's wig from where she goes 10,000 years into the past, and old Weir comes out and has that long gray wig. I think Merrick, the retrovirus Wraith, is wearing that wig in this episode. So awesome. That's always good to see.
There were a lot of long, straight gray wigs in this episode.
Yeah, on the commentary, they called out that not all the wigs were really good. So they had one good wig, which was old Weir's wig, and they used that.
That's fine. Yeah, I liked the addition of Woolsey coming to Atlantis and trying to give them that kind of political, is the IOA stepping in? Are they, they did this with Stargate SG1 many, many seasons. And so I kind of like that they did that with Weir. I don't think it was completely effective. I don't think we felt that Weir's job was really being threatened. At least I didn't. But it was nice to see Woolsey. I mean, they're kind of building him up. We talked about him last week because he was in SG1, Morpheus. And so they're building him up. They're keeping around more. And we know we'll see more of him. I liked this episode. I thought it was, again, they made bad choices about let's go take all these guys and dump them on a planet. And then, we'll just leave Beckett there with like 3 other dudes. And all these Wraith are just going to continue to take their meds. And then what's the long-term plan here? They were just going to leave them there forever and ever. It's just so odd. But my big question is, did Michael volunteer to take it again?
No, I mean,
I don't think so.
Forced, yeah.
Because you remember he was having that conversation with Taylor and she was like trying to convince him of his options, right? And then that's the end of it until you see him on the planet. And it's like, did he say, why not? Do it to me again? But then when he comes to, he's extra upset with them.
Yes. Well, he said, if you're just going to, wipe my memory and do this to me again, just kill me now.
That's true.
And then Ronan walks in and stuns him with the justifier and they inject him. So it's clearly not, it's clearly against his will. Yeah.
I must have blinked. Yeah. But it was funny because he gives you the moral argument of it's the same thing. Like it's basically you're killing me because I'm not me. So we keep going round and round about this retrovirus. Where do y'all stand on it? What's your current, has it changed from the last few weeks? Like, what's your current stance on the morality of it?
I think it's an effective, chemical warfare device, but I don't think it's anything more than that. I mean, it's a good way to neutralize the enemy, but if you know that they're going to revert without it, you kind of have to still deal with the problem, which is why I think just putting them all on the hive ship and waiting a couple weeks and then blowing up the hive ship, if you can wait that long, would have been a much more effective solution. I did like how they had the failsafe of the nuke hidden, on the planet, but obviously, Beckett under, Wraith mind control revealed the location of that and they disarmed it. But I guess that prop has been around since season 1, just modified a little bit. I think the last time we saw it was when the Ori were building their first supergate and they tried to use the nuke to stop the prior bubble or the prior, but it didn't work. It just made things worse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the long-term goal that they were trying is they need to find a permanent way to retrovirus them where they won't revert. But I don't think that ever comes to fruition in the show, even in the end, because this will come up again, this retrovirus stuff. So I don't think they ever. So I think that was the long-term idea, but like you said, they're not there yet. So their options are either let them revert or or just keep injecting them with the retrovirus indefinitely. But quarantining them all in this camp is leading them all to question things and start to figure things out. So if you're going to do that, you really need to have a better setup for it. Whether it's more security, or like you try to like integrate them into like an actual town somewhere, like on an abandoned planet, or something along those lines. But they did it in the most suspicious way possible. Of like, they didn't really tell them. They didn't even like make up a fake history of their planet, other than this virus wiped out your memory, and then like didn't really give them anything else to go on. So yeah, I think if you're going to actually do it, you have to commit to taking care of these people and ensuring that they don't revert somehow. But they don't do that. So
or another option, I just thought of, give them a choice. Like, you're a monster. If you take this drug, we won't kill you.
It's true. Well, remember Linnea, Destroyer of Worlds in SG1?
Yeah.
She voluntarily had her mind wiped because she didn't want to be the monster anymore.
Yeah, that's right. She
couldn't control it. And so she let them do it. And everybody else knew what was going on around her we never heard from her again, so we assume she stayed sweet and peaceful. Yeah. I like the idea of the retrovirus. I thought it was interesting. I think all throughout sci-fi shows you do these kinds of things. But at the same time, like you said, they don't have a plan, a long-term plan for what it is. And I guess I really debate, I'll say the humaneness. Again, they talk about once they're human, you have a duty to them. But when they were wraith, it was fine to kill them. But when they're human, it's not fine to kill them. And I guess, having that there's like a line for them when it's okay and when it's not. And I like Ronan's point of view, which is like, they're still wraith. I mean,
Yeah.
And I think this episode kind of really showed that because they deep down are wraith, and all you're doing is like masking or, quieting that instinct for a temporary period of time. And so I would kind of hope this is the end of the experiment, though I know it's not. But I'm like, did you learn a lesson here, guys? But Beckett got to be the hero for a while. He stayed on the planet and he wanted to, I was going to say he also got to get in the chair.
Yes,
drones,
he did. Yes.
Which was great.
Yeah, because they're leaving him on the planet because he doesn't want to leave. He wants to make sure that they're taken care of, and there's no gate on this planet because they wanted, they didn't want them to be able to leave. And there's, I forget how long they say. I think they say it's a week back to Atlantis on the hive ship or on the Daedalus. So if they leave him, and he's stuck there for a while by himself with just the 3 security people. So, but he's still willing to do that. So I think that was a good moment for Beckett.
Mm-hmm.
And there's actually a 4th security person that was kind of in the episode by mistake. Martin Wood called it out on the commentary that you have the 3 Marines, and then the background people who set up, the background of the shots put like a 4th security guy in there too, who's not wearing the same uniform as the rest of them. So it's just kind of a goof if you notice that in some background shots, there's actually like a 4th member. And then at the end, there's only like 3 sets of dog tags that Shepard has. But yeah, this episode had some editing challenges. It's always good to see Robert Picardo on the show, and he's really good in this episode. He has a lot of dialogue heavy scenes, and I guess he doesn't like to just do this standing around and talking scenes, so he always has a prop that he brings or fiddles around with, and we see it with the coffee cup. When we first see him, he's cleaning or polishing his glasses. The second time we see him, and then when he's talking with Caldwell, which is another nice scene, he's eating this orange, and it gives them something to do in the scene, but it made it very difficult to edit because, where is he with eating the orange? Where is he with polishing his glasses? We can't just do a lot of, cuts and stuff when he's doing that. So, but it is very effective. I like when he gets to just play with a prop like that. It tells you something about the character.
Having him on the show, it just really adds something because we've talked about it, how he's the best example of having a guest star and really knowing what to do with him. And he and Tori Higginson, when she's sitting at the table, the conference table with her team, we've got the Atlantis team together, and he comes in and he just like takes over her space, and she's like moving stuff out of the way, and he sits in. That was just, physically the best. Watching them do that, you know what I mean? Like moving, and she's moving and he's encroaching, and I thought it was just so good.
Yeah, and that scene, they wanted him to come in and show disdain for the Atlantis crew, but not too much. And Robert Picardo's like, well, how about I show them my butt? And so when he comes in, he's like leaning over and his backside is facing towards them, and then he turns around and pushes Weir out of her, space at the head of the table, like you said. But yeah, when they first had Robert Picardo on, he was kind of a one-note jerk character, but they liked him so much they wanted to bring him back, and they said on the commentary, if you're going to have a character come back, you can't just have him play the same character. You have to have him grow or develop a little bit. And so that's what we've gradually seen with Woolsey, where he's becoming more and more sympathetic, not just kind of the one note senator character that they would sometimes bring on to be the antagonist.
Yeah, and it really works to have him. It really works to have him talk through the IOA. And my only problem with that is I didn't feel the that there are real stakes for Weir. Because he even talks about that the IOA is kind of wishy-washy. They don't really want to, they have a lot of discussion about they don't want to make a decision. You just kind of make the decision. And in fact, at the end, he basically falsifies his report to cover up for Weir.
And that didn't land as much as it would have if you had thought that, at the beginning he wanted to remove Weir or something, right? That would have made it a little bit more impactful if he had, been anti-Weir the whole time. And I guess he tries, with Colonel Caldwell, and it's the way it's written, it's not super clear. He's trying to get Caldwell to flip against Weir, and Caldwell won't do it. But the scene doesn't really make that explicit if you're just watching it. So it's yeah. But
okay.
Yeah, and so that scene with Caldwell, they didn't realize it until they were filming it that they had basically two bald actors like in the same scene talking to each other.
Did you feel seen, Victor?
I did. I really did. I was like, hey, this is like, I feel I have representation on this episode.
I love that. Actually, one of my favorite scenes with Weir was Shepard. When Shepard comes in and is like frustrated and ranting with her about Woolsey, and he's I should have looked it up what he said, but he's like, this and this for you, and then it comes back to really about him.
Yeah,
like he's saying, I feel like I won't let them do that to you, and then he's like, because then they're really questioning my decisions or something, and I'm like, way to go, Shepard. Like,
exactly.
You're upset for her, but it's really about you. But their interaction, it's really the three seasons. They've really had great character interaction. They write well for them together. So, and then Weir is able to say that as far as I don't know if she used the word snakes, but as far as problems go, Woolsey isn't the worst one. So she can read Woolsey and right. So she's not really worried either.
No. And Weir and Woolsey have a lot in common. I mean, they're both very diplomatic and kind of see the writing on the wall and stuff. And so I don't think she's too worried.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No.
And to go back to the Caldwell and Woolsey scene, because Woolsey's basically telling him, Shepard goes away, you can be the military commander of Atlantis, and trying to, worm his way in there. And Caldwell says, I don't report to you. I'm ordered to be here. And until my superiors tell me that I have to listen to you, I'm not going to listen to you, basically. So I did like that, seeing that, because Caldwell's kind of been not antagonist, but at least like a little bit of a foil for Weir and Shepard and the Atlantis team. So I like that he kind of is on their side, at least somewhat. Even though it could, it could be a promotion for him if he was in charge of Atlantis as well as the Daedalus.
He didn't take the bait.
Nope.
Yeah, that was good. And Taylor had like a hot minute something to do where she's, talking to Weir, who's on Earth, and like getting Beckett in the chair, and we're ready for that hive ship coming, and then it turns out to be Shepard.
Yeah.
And then later, they did give us new Wraith technology, like details about it, because we now know that the Wraith ship is piloted by neural sensors or something, just like the ancient technology.
Yeah.
What did y'all think about that?
I mean, it gave Taylor something to do. I mean, she had to help fly the ship, And
it gave Rodney something to do, because then he's got to like figure out how to work around it.
Yeah.
I think that was about all the two of them got to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for Rodney trying to set off the bomb at the end was,
Yeah.
Not a heavy Rodney episode either.
Mm-mm.
The visual effects were good. I mean, the Wraith ship still looks great, almost 20 years later. And, the scene where they're firing on the planet and then the other Wraith ship shows up and starts firing on them. I thought that was very well done. It's hard to do kind of space battles or locate, where ships are in space effectively a lot of times in visual effects. And that was really well done. And I like how, Rodney's basically firing blind at the planet, trying to wipe out the camp, but, has no idea if he's hitting anything. And then the scene where the Daedalus arrives and it's just like a field of hive ship wreckage. I thought that was really cool as well.
And they
Not
don't
sure
know
why
if they
they-
survived or not. And
Yeah. And then Shepard, has to decloak the puddle jumper. It's like, oh, sorry, you just realized you guys can't see me.
That was good. So, where do you stand on Michael? Victim, enemy, sympathy, no sympathy?
At this point, I'd say sympathy. What he does later kind of erases that, but at this point, yeah, I mean, he is a sympathetic character, I would say. I mean, he's just this poor Wraith guy that's, had his mind wiped and been chemically altered, twice now after helping them. So, yeah, I mean, granted, if they had let him go, would he have eventually told the other Wraith where Atlantis was? I mean, maybe, but I don't know. I think he's sympathetic at this point, but doesn't remain that way for very long.
Yeah, and I mean the Wraiths should all know where Atlantis is because that was their enemy for the longest time. I think the main thing is they don't know Atlantis is still there. Yeah. They think it was destroyed. So yeah, he could reveal that, and he could reveal, potentially information about if we can capture this Daedalus ship, we can get their hyperdrive tech and travel to this rich feeding ground. So yeah, that is a risk out there. I was just thinking, why don't you try to put all this energy for Atlantis, put it into finding a way to feed the Wraith? Like if you can, figure out a food supply they can, an energy supply they can absorb, you could use that as a way to potentially, say you don't have to feed or fight anymore. You can just use this, eat all you want. So I don't know. That might have been a better use of their energy.
Yeah, they could grow just like blobs of living tissue that the Wraith would feed off of. Like just like gelatinous, like amorphous blobs of like sinew and stuff that they could just, I don't know. Maybe that wouldn't be the same.
What about the Lucian Alliance? Can we bring them over with their drug porn and
yeah, exactly.
some hybrid food? That is interesting because I don't think they've ever talked about providing or finding an alternative food source for the Wraith besides humans.
Yeah. Well, I think they can also eat animals too, but I think they probably get more energy. Like it's kind of not really defined on what they're absorbing, other than it's their kind of life energy of somebody. And I think because humans live longer than most animals, that's probably why they're going after humans, because they can absorb more from them than they could from cattle or something like that. And humans can reproduce relatively quickly compared to some of the other like long-term lived animals, at least in on Earth. We don't know what other animals are out there in the Pegasus. So.
That's right. We haven't really explored animals in the Pegasus galaxy, have we?
Stargate tends to stay away from weird animals. At least, now that their CG is getting better. But I mean, in the movie, we had that weird, cow camel thing with the long growth tongue. But it's harder to do that on a show.
Eats into the budget.
Yeah, they had the T-Rex thing they mentioned, and then they have the whale lizard or the whale things on the Atlantis planet. That's, I think, about all we really see. That's not a normal type of animal that we have on Earth. So
it was like a flying bird with the Nox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long would one of those whales feed the Wraith, I wonder?
That's true. Okay, so I know that this wasn't a Peter DeLuise episode, correct?
No, it was Martin Wood, yeah.
But I could swear he was one of the Wraith humans sitting around in one of those wigs in the tent. And I was watching it on my phone and I tried to screenshot, but Amazon won't let you screenshot on your phone like the episode. But I rewound it several times and y'all have to go back and look. It looks just like him. I think it was 16 minutes in.
There is one that looks, when they're sitting in the tent. Yeah, there is one in the background who looks a lot like him. I don't know if that's him or not. They didn't call it out on the commentary. So it could just be someone who looked a lot like him.
Maybe there's another like DeLuise cousin or something.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah, so you can see that towards the end of the episode, they have more of the, Wraiths with shaved head than the wigs because they realized the wigs weren't really working. So as the episode progresses, and they only had 3, actors dressed up in Wraith makeup. So, if you see like the dead Wraith on the ground, then they would get them up and then, they would do some, things where they would shoot from one side than the other side to make it look like there were a lot more, reverted Wraith in the camp. They mentioned, and I didn't. Yeah, Christopher Heyerdahl is one of the Wraith in the episode as well. So
it's nice to see him back because
Yeah.
we haven't seen him on Atlantis in a while because, well, I think the Athosians just kind of ran out of story.
Yeah.
It's just not enough. So it's nice that they found a new, I think he's going to play Wraith from now on.
Yep.
And I like that they found something for him to do because he's a great actor and he's been a great part of Stargate. So keep him in the show.
Yeah, the Athosians come back, but I don't think Halling does. But yeah, like you said, Heyerdahl comes in and plays a pretty significant Wraith character. So
Yeah. Okay, so the Latham Wraith, the one that first started questioning things out loud and all of that, he looked super familiar. But I know he'd been in a couple other episodes as other characters, but nothing really stood out. But the whole episode, I'm thinking, man, he looks so familiar.
He does kind of look like James, I can't never say his last name, Lazandolphos, who plays like the main Wraith character, but I think that's just mainly the wig and the facial structure. But he did look familiar.
Mm-hmm. And I have to say, I know the wigs weren't popular, but when you first see Shepard and they're walking through the new camp, because we have a big time jump between what do we do with them and, we've set up a whole camp. So I like that. That was nice, rather than us going through the drama of it.
And that accounts for Weir and Woolsey having to travel on an Asgard ship, which is convenient. It
was very convenient
to get back there in like 2 or 3 weeks instead of 6 or 8. But yeah.
Yeah. So I like that first when you're introduced to the camp and they're walking in. The tents are white, the jumpsuits are white, their wigs are white.
Yeah. Against
all of the trees. And then Atlantis, Shepard and them are wearing the dark green. I thought it was just visually, it really stood out. Like you were supposed to notice like what they've set up, that these people were very different. They've got, like I said, all the white hair and the white jumpsuits. And I don't know, it really made an impact. I appreciated that they made the effort to kind of set it all up different. They didn't put them in a medieval village.
No, that's true. And they did a lot of the filming, like usually when they film the interior of a tent, that's like in a studio.
Mm-hmm.
But they actually filmed inside the tents on location, which is kind of cool. Makes it seem a little bit more real.
That is good.
Yeah, it was very foggy and almost looked a lot like last week's Morpheus, kind of the outdoor kind of foggy, spooky village set. So I'm assuming it wasn't the exact same location, but it looked very similar. So just another of those like week to week connections, or like SG1 Atlantis, like sometimes very similar aesthetic or stories, like in the same in the same week of episodes.
Yeah, and Paul Mully did say, who did the commentary, did say and wrote this episode that it's very challenging to come up with different looking alien planets when you're limited to the forest outside of Vancouver. The hill where Lathan is killed by the other Wraith and then is kind of put on this hill to make it look like he fell down this ravine. And they got to the location and the hill was like just very gentle. So Martin Wood had to angle the camera to make the grade look a lot steeper than it was. And in a couple of cases, you can see the trees kind of going off at angles because he had to, make it look convincing. And they were going to use the same cliff that they had used at the end of Michael, but they thought that too many people would make the connection. Like, wait, are they back on the same planet where Michael met the Wraith and stuff? But it's not too noticeable in the episode. You can kind of see that someone could potentially fall and hit their head. Or their neck.
And it was interesting that they didn't have Michael be the first one questioning.
Yeah. Even though I think Michael knew what was going on from the beginning, he's just kind of one of the gang there. And
he puts up the whole, oh, gee, everything's fine. Why are you, he did the whole innocent act. And then when he confronts Latham later and kills him, you realize, that he does remember, and it's not good. This is just not good. Like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah. Yeah. And at I didn't catch this until they mentioned it on the commentary, but when the Wraith discover the Wraith bodies, and are kind of running off, Michael looks up to the sky and kind of runs in the other direction, kind of saying like he knows what's going to happen next. They're going to start opening fire on him. I didn't catch that. They mentioned it on the commentary, but that also is kind of a clue that he survived at the end.
Yeah, you don't want to kill him off yet.
Yeah.
He's a good villain. He has a good face for the Wraith to, personalize or, make it more interesting. So plus he's a counterturnier. You want to keep him around.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Do y'all have any final thoughts or foreign language titles, Victor?
Yeah, we do. It was weird that most of them didn't go with Misbegotten. In French, we got Transformation, which is transformation. I like the German title for this one. Ein schlechter Plan, which is
a bad plan.
A bad plan, yeah. And then, yeah, it is a very bad plan. And then in Japanese, Raisu Ningen, which is human form wraith. So
okay. Very on the nose. Yeah, I did read that they changed the name of this episode like 3 or 4 times, and it Misbegotten.
Yeah.
Not my favorite title, but it was.
Sounds like a Torch song or something from the 50s. That Patsy Cline or something would sing.
Do y'all have any final thoughts on this one?
No, I don't think so.
Robert Picardo was really good in it. I think he was one of the standouts on this episode.
Yeah, nothing else for me.
All right. And we have some feedback on YouTube from our episode 222, Camelot. Eric C6788 said, "Oh, you guys are getting into one of my favorite serious SG1 seasons, season 10. In my humble opinion, they did a beautiful job with the crossover episode coming up, and one of the final scenes gives me goosebumps, like the end of season 7 blowing Anubis' ship to smithereens. I won't spoil the very nearly 20-year-old spoiler for everyone. Is it still a spoiler if the show has been done for almost 20 years, or shame on who hasn't watched it yet? Cries and missing Stargate." Eric.
Yeah, I mean, we try to stay away from spoilers later on, although we hint at them, just in case people are watching the episodes along with us. And Jack, as you know, hasn't seen all of Stargate, and so a lot of this is new for him as well. But I generally try to avoid spoilers unless it's particularly relevant to the episode we're discussing.
I agree.
But thank you for the feedback. That's very good. Yeah,
yes.
and I'm enjoying season 10 more than I remember enjoying watching it the first time.
Me too. I think we were all just so shocked at the big change, season 9, 10, and now we knew it happened, so we're able to accept it for what it was. And we haven't gotten new Stargate in 20 years, so we're just grateful that...
We haven't gotten a lot of great new sci-fi shows in 20 years.
We should do an episode on all the bad ones, but
yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious if we'll feel the same when we get to Universe, if we feel it aged better than it was, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I watched the pilot with my kids because they'd never seen it, and they were like, huh. So I don't know. We'll see. I haven't watched any more of that, so I don't know yet. All right. We'd like to take a moment to thank all our patrons who make it possible for us to create Secrets of Stargate. Patrons like you. Their generous donations make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Stargate and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. Be sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or find our video versions at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia. And you can join us on our Discord at sqpn.com/Discord. To find previous episodes of Secrets of Stargate and to send feedback, please visit sqpn.com/Stargate. You can email us at stargate@sqpn.com or follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia or on X at SQPN. We'll be back next time and we'll be discussing the 3rd episode of Season 10 of Stargate SG1. Until then, Jeff Hiker, thank you for joining us and sharing in the Secrets of Stargate.
Thanks, Lisa.
And Victor Lambs, thank you as well.
Thanks, Lisa. And I came this close to blasting you out of the sky.
Yeah, that's true. Once again, I'm Lisa Jones. Thank you for listening to The Secrets of Stargate on StarQuest.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?